Can you guys all say Team Say on 3? 1, 2, 3.
Hi, I'm Marianne with Teen Say. Paula Soto from Poison Control. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Marianne. It's good to see you again.
You too. Are you working from home?
I am, and most of our staff is. We at the National Capital Poison Center, we only have we have limited staff, so we are worried. We don't want anyone to get sick. We want to make sure that Poison Control stays open and is there for everybody. So for that reason, we did all separate, and everybody is well, and we're going strong.
Great. We love that because we really need you guys. And as we spoke about on our other shows, everybody often starts out with, I have a dumb question for you. Right?
Absolutely.
How many times a week would you say you hear that line?
I probably hear it daily.
College students are getting ready to go. With COVID, we don't know. If they are in trouble, whether it be from drinking too much or medicine and drinking or just medicine and drugs, or maybe they took the wrong medicine or too much medicine, is it a confidential call?
It is, and I really think that this is a really nice low bar for people to be able to call. You know, it's on the phone. You don't have to face anybody. It is completely an interaction between a healthcare provider, so it's a private medical chart essentially that we're making. And, you know, it can be a very good place to start and understand if you really are in trouble or not. I talk to a lot of really bright young people who are really worried about themselves, you know, for different situations. And sometimes it's a problem, and a lot of times it's not. But it's nice you shouldn't guess. You know,
No.
if you think you're in trouble, something's going on in your head that you know something might not be right, and you should check it out.
So would you call the police on them if they took, let's say if they were intoxicated, took drugs and were on drugs?
And no, that's not our role at all. Our role is completely just being safe. And I also like to assure young people and adults as well that, you know, the ER, even if you do have to go to the ER, if we decide, you know, whatever happened is too dangerous for you to watch at home and it just would be safer to go into an emergency department, you know, the physicians and nurses there are also not there to get you. They really honestly are too busy taking care of people for health reasons, and it's not their role either. Their role is making sure people are safe and cared for. So never ever let that, you know, delay or derail you from seeking help, because it's really that's not the point there, and it's understandable why they would think that though.
Yeah. And I'm sure they see a lot of, we're going to go here next, I'm sure they see a lot of alcohol poisoning and even drug mixing with the alcohol poisoning at the ER.
And that can be, yes, they see it all the time, and they're really not, I mean, fazed by it. You know, it's something that, I mean, is you know, every night, definitely on the weekends. And it's just, they treat it just like anything else. You know, it becomes like any other job. You see the same things again and again, and you know, you kind of know what to do for it.
Right. Okay. So educate us on what medications to avoid if you're going to be drinking.
Yeah, I think if, you know, this is my opinion, but I have some background for why I think so, why I think these things. I think that if you are, you know, first of all, always check to make sure there's no drug interaction. There are some things like Tylenol, which is acetaminophen, interacts with alcohol, and it makes both components can be a little bit more toxic to the liver. So there's things like that, but then there's other things to consider, such as drugs like Benadryl or anything that makes you drowsy is going to be additive. You know, alcohol is a depressant. It makes your brain activity slow down. And so if you add on something else to it that's also a little bit of a downer or a sleeping medicine, it can really be additive, and it can affect breathing or heart rate more, or make you just more, you know, clumsy, more, you know, more likely to get into an accident, all sorts of things. And then the third thing, I think.
Well, let me back you up there. Let's say a person has allergies and they have a drink with something they're allergic to, whether it be a fruit juice or, people have cross-contaminated with foods.
Sure.
And the person is drinking. Can the person take Benadryl, or what's the person going to do?
Yeah, I think I would definitely call poison control, or call your doctor, or call a pharmacist.
I think at that point, though, they're dialing 911 for an allergic reaction, unless it's mild, right?
Yes, exactly. People who have allergic reactions, well, if they are, most people who've had them kind of know when the triggers are, and you do a risk benefit kind of in every
Yeah.
situation. If it was a really bad drug allergy, even if somebody was drinking, you know what, you take the Benadryl, you call 911 and take the Benadryl at the same time, and
EpiPen too?
it shouldn't be a problem at all. But yeah, I would definitely err on the side of doing that.
Okay, so let's say they have to dial 911 and because they're having an allergic reaction, but they're out drinking with their friends, and they're underage. Again, they're not going to be arrested.
No, yeah, no way. I don't think
People
so. I
want to
can't say
help
no
them.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, people
You
want to
never know,
help.
because people panic, kids
That's
panic,
right.
and they don't want to get in trouble, especially if they're freshmen drinking for the first time,
Yeah,
or just not familiar with the rules and the laws.
that's
So I
right.
want to make sure they stress on, caution and protecting themselves from dying, or
Yeah,
something more serious from a silly anaphylactic reaction that could be
yeah.
prevented. Yeah. So, alcohol poisoning. Tell
Yeah.
us about alcohol poisoning. How much does one have to drink? So, I've seen kids, okay, at parties where they're like just pouring the vodka. They're not measuring shots. They're just like right into
Yeah.
their iced tea or something. And I'm like, oh, did you see what they just did?
That gets really very tricky. And, you know, there are some cases, Marianne, you and I have talked about before, with things like, drug facilitated sexual assault.
Yes.
When you go back and then, you are tasked with trying to remember how much you drink, how are you supposed to quantify that? And, I know that's kind of taking a step beyond a step in worst case scenario, but it can creep up on you. And
Yeah.
especially if you have it in a mixer, or maybe the mixer is sweet and you don't taste it. It's really easy. The difference between 2 shots and 4 shots, is a big deal. So, I just be mindful. I mean, listen, we've all been, young before, and I get, I get it, but just being mindful of those things, like, perhaps, you drink the things you're used to drinking, if possible, a metered dose, such as a can of beer, is possibly better than free pouring a bottle of vodka, so at least you kind of know what you're getting in a way.
Right.
So,
And I remember when my kids were young, I practiced. I took 2 shot glasses out, a double shot and a regular shot, and I showed them with water, how much this was. And then I poured it in a glass just to give them an
yeah,
idea.
that's a good
But,
idea.
if kids are just pouring into, into an iced tea or a Coke can or a Gatorade bottle, they don't know what they're doing. They're just like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you really might not taste it, especially, I think that when people don't, maybe they're coming to college for the first time and you're not, as experienced, and, you go to parties and sometimes they'll have just a big bowl of some kind
oh,
of mystery punch.
which
And,
I would not drink.
yeah, I mean, guess what? They're probably not springing for like the good stuff. And, if
Yeah.
anything, it might be like, very high proof alcohol in there, like 151 or something
Ugh.
really high proof that is just, yeah, it can
They
sneak
might be
past.
putting stuff in it for kicks too. I mean, I wouldn't
Mhm.
drink that punch if you paid me.
No, yeah, I would definitely, I know. I think that's a good tip.
Even if they have to pay for their alcohol because they're like, oh, well, that's free. I mean, there's nothing in
Yeah,
life that's free. That ER
that's
visit's going to
right.
be costly.
That's right. That's right.
So they're over 18, so their parents won't be called if they get alcohol poisoning unless they call their parents.
That's right.
So what are the signs of alcohol poisoning?
we pretty much, some of the things that you will pretty much always see are first of all, your stomach is really, really irritated. And we forget that alcohol is an irritant. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, you touch alcohol, it's cool. It's an irritating substance. So when you have a lot of it, your stomach is just really, it's like irritated and a little bit inflamed. So what happens then is that you are sometimes not able to keep down fluids, and you have like the vomiting, and then you have a lot of nausea, and it's kind of a cycle where you can't replenish your fluids, and you're so thirsty and you can't drink, so you try to chug a bunch of water, and then you throw that up, and it's like a whole, it's really
It's terrible.
yeah, I know, it's just not fun.
Why do they do that? I've seen videos like they're laying on the floor, like Gaudy's call, the one we covered, with the Drug Coalition, and you see kids laying on the toilet and just, or on the floor, and other people, They're like, why drink to that point?
Well, and I think,
like you said, it creeps up on you.
It creeps up on you, and next.
What if they make themselves vomit because they are afraid that, or somebody else makes them vomit because they're afraid that person's going to have alcohol poisoning?
A lot of times when people are trying to do that, it's way too late. It's like if the person's already, hugging the toilet, or if they're already, down, you're probably not going to get up something that's going to be helpful. So, and it gets dangerous too when somebody's sedated. If you're inducing vomiting, we always worry about them inhaling the vomit by accident and aspirating it, which is just way worse. Usually inducing vomiting just doesn't do anything but create more possible harm.
Yeah. Okay. So they shouldn't say, oh, I drank too much, let me try and throw up. No,
not really. Yeah.
What about when their friends say, oh my gosh, like, we got to carry him, we got to carry her, they're so drunk, they'll sleep it off. So in the case I was talking about in the video where they were educating, he didn't sleep it off, and he actually aspirated and suffocated from it, obviously. And they put him on his side, I guess, or something, but it didn't do any good.
Yeah, the side position does help. It can help, particularly your left side, but it's to leave somebody there. If you are going to take on that responsibility of somebody who's going to sleep it off, I mean, somebody should probably be watching them. Or if they're that bad, they should probably just take them into an emergency room to be watched, because it happens. I mean, it happens a lot. The breathing. They
don't want to do that. They say everybody drinks to blackout drunk sometimes.
Yeah.
I've heard this a ton of times over and over. They'll sleep it off. And,
Yeah, it's hard to communicate that. I think, when it's a pretty common thing, and fact is you usually do get away with it, but it's just like everything else. It's like driving a car and taking a swim and everything else. There's always some inherent risks, but that's a very controllable risk, if you can really understand that. And
so if you stay with the person, what are you watching for? If they're sleeping, you just want to hear if they wake up and start throwing up. Are they going to wake up? Is the only risk like aspiration? Or is the risk that they go to sleep and they don't wake up?
The breathing could become so suppressed that they can die from lack of oxygen. That's not probably as common as aspirating on vomit, though. So you would be watching, if somebody's kind of in between where you feel like you could watch them at home, you would be looking just to make sure they were breathing, and just breathing, and then help them if they have to vomit. Make sure that they can get it out and they're on their side, and help them. And if you get through, the next couple of hours, you're probably okay. But then after that, it becomes that whole issue of the rehydration. And what normally gets people into the emergency room is that they cannot take any fluids, so they need IV fluids. and usually an anti-nausea medicine, like a prescription strength one,
Wow.
that's sometimes that's the only thing. If you're, most people are able to take those. Excuse me, there are some drug interactions, but most people are able to take those anti-nausea medicines, and that's typically why somebody would go into the emergency room. But the dehydration is a big deal. You know, if you cannot take fluids for 24 hours, you know, and you're throwing up a bunch, you know, you're messing up your electrolytes, you know, your potassium and your sodium, and that could be a problem.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I cut you off before. Tell me what other drugs other than Tylenol, because kids take a lot of medications nowadays, the antidepressants, Adderall. I know we've talked about this a ton of times, but just
Yeah.
give it to us quick. Are
Yeah.
there definite no's?
Yeah, I think my definite no's for drinking and mixing drugs.
Advil?
Um, Advil is not the worst in my opinion. You know, they
Okay.
are kind of rough on the stomach. You'll see that there's a warning on the label about not to drink more than 2 drinks a day. That has to do
Okay.
with an increased risk of bleeding, and because the alcohol is irritating the stomach lining, you know, it kind of works together against you, so it can cause some um, more stomach discomfort, and even potential for like a stomach bleed,
Right.
but not common. Like in a one-time dose should not happen.
Okay.
So that's Advil or Motrin is probably, or even aspirin. Although those are a little bit rough on the stomach, they're probably better than Tylenol. Like in a hangover case, you know, if you're trying to treat a hangover. My other drugs for totally avoiding are the stimulants in general, like Adderall or Ritalin. Any kind of stimulant type of medication can just cause you to drink a little bit more than you might normally, because you are not picking up on that depressant effect. However, you know, the worry is that, you know, maybe you keep drinking and then eventually that Adderall wears off, and then now you are kind of in a little bit deeper than you thought or meant to be in terms of the alcohol consumption. So
Ooh,
those can be
and
dangerous in
I
that
guess
way.
that could creep up on you real quick.
That could really creep up on you for sure.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so I think in general, we want to avoid anything sedative, and acetaminophen and stimulants, you know, in general, or at least see how you react to them. And some medicines just cannot be taken with alcohol.
So would they skip their, like if they knew it was a Friday, would they skip their Adderall in school that day but then they have side effects to that as well, right?
Yeah.
Or Ritalin or whatever they're on, right?
I think each case can be different with taking medications and drinking alcohol. Sometimes it is going to be better to hold the medication. You know, I would definitely say to talk to the doctor. Again, even your primary care physician, you should always be super honest with your doctor, because it's really, I mean, again, they're also not there to get you. They're there to help you as well. So if you are literally saying, I'm planning on drinking this weekend, what should I do? They will probably tell you.
And I mean, if they have a doctor that doesn't communicate well with them, they get a new doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they should be able to be honest with their doctor and have a rapport.
Yeah, exactly.
Because mommy and daddy aren't standing there advocating for them or asking the questions for them anymore.
That's right. And most universities and colleges do have, you know, staff. They have a medical center there that, you know, that you can go to, and, you know, again, just like the emergency department, they've seen it all, and they're completely, you know, I think in general nowadays, healthcare has kind of gone to a model of where it's more inclusive with the patient. You know, you think about the old pharmacy days when, you know, the wall was purposefully up high so that they couldn't see what was going on behind the counter, you know, and so now it's a lot more open.
Is there anything you want to add for college students? That are, so the Tylenol is no, even the next day.
Yeah, if you drink a lot, I say, yeah, if you drink a lot, if you drink excessively, if you're really hungover, I would skip the Tylenol the next day.
What about if they want to get something over the counter, like Prevacid, Nexium, something for the nausea?
Yeah, those are
or
usually
Tums,
okay.
or
Yeah, Tums is super safe. No
and
problem
get their
there.
Gatorade for hydration.
Yeah, yep. Get some sip on some fluids, whatever sounds good. Actually, sugar, plain sugar is good for nausea. They make glucose tabs, so having some kind of
Oh,
drink with real sugar in it,
yeah.
just taking little sips can help sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what advice do you want to give them?
My advice for you going to college is, first of all, I just hope you have a great time and congratulations. Do as much as you can. When I first started out in my career, as a college student, I studied microbiology, and I thought I wanted to do benchtop research, and I did some, and I was able to do some benchtop research in college, and that's when I was able to realize that it wasn't really for me. So take this time. It's okay if you're going in not knowing what you want to do exactly. That's kind of what college is for. And try to do things that you can volunteer at places that you might be interested in. And these are all ways you can get a kind of peek into what could be your future and really give you an informed idea of what you might be getting into.
Well, that's really good advice. Yes, and we're going to talk to you on your journey in a little bit. So they can find out how to become a poison control specialist like you are. So we're trying to dabble in all the different journeys of the careers to help them out if they don't know what they want to be. So HOSA does that for medical students. We've done a couple of doctors for them. And we'll add you to theirs as well as a toxicologist. That is great advice. So thank you so much for caring about our youth and constantly talking to us. And I guess if they're looking for you, Pella Soto at Poison Control, and they can call and maybe ask you some questions.
Absolutely. Well, anytime, we're always open and we're there for you if you need us. From bug bites and snake bites to chemicals and fumes and building products and medicines, of course, and all sorts of things, drugs of abuse, um all sorts of things. It's plants, plants, animals, it kind of covers a whole really broad variety of subjects. Anything can be a poison. It's
Right.
Even water. The famous saying in toxicology is that there's nothing that's not a poison. It's the dose that makes the poison. So it's basically, we get into many different things. If it's something that we don't do, we can usually at least get you in the right direction to somebody who does.
And that's the other thing I want to stress. Poison Control's main purpose, because they work with doctors too, the main purpose when we call poison control is to keep us out of the hospital if we can, and for you to tell us if we should induce vomiting, not induce vomiting, drink some Gatorade, eat some candy. You guys also call back, follow up the next day. So we appreciate that. We know that we're not paying for those services. You're a nonprofit. So of course donations help, and but college students don't have any money, so they're very happy.
That's okay. Well, that's okay. You certainly don't have to pay to call, and yeah, it's no problem. We definitely appreciate the donations, but that's at the heart of it, it's a really wonderful thing to be able to provide. It's this very altruistic, kind of lofty aspiration to be able to talk to a specialist,
Right.
just by calling, a phone number and being able to talk to them to somebody for free, is still just a wonderful thing. And it's not common. You try to get to a specialist in any other business and you can't just call them for free. So it's a wonderful thing. And, it's especially now more than ever, we're very, we want to keep people out of the emergency department and not exposed to COVID
Corona,
and things like that. Yeah. So, I think that,
awful.
if it's safe to do so, and most situations thankfully are safe to watch at home. So if there's a safe home treatment, we will tell you about it. We actually, I don't know if you know this, we don't induce vomiting anymore. They don't even sell Ipecac anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep. They don't do that anymore.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I hate to vomit, so
Yeah.
and get poisoned. That's good.
Yep.
The other thing I wanted to stress was if they're in another country, they can still reach you if they're studying abroad. I know we've covered that before, but let's just cover that again.
Yeah. If you're abroad, make sure that you can call a 1-800 number. You will usually be able to to get through to a poison center just by calling the 1-800-222-1222. If not, I mean, find out in your plan before you go. If not, you can also just find out your poison center is going to have a local number that will have whatever your local area code is, and you could just dial that directly. You could do that as well.
Okay. They might get somebody that's speaking to them in another language then.
Yes, other countries do have poison control centers, but they use a different number usually. So the 1-800 number, I don't. We get people who do call from overseas, but every kind of phone carrier, it seems like it's a little bit different.
Right. Okay. So side effects to medications as well. So they don't want to worry mom or dad in the middle of the night. They took. They went to the doctor. They haven't told mom or dad they have strep throat or whatever. And they took their antibiotic and they feel really bad, they're vomiting, or, you know, they just don't feel well, or they took another medicine and their heart's racing. Again, they can call you.
Yeah, call poison control and we'll tell you if that's normal or if that's expected. And, you know, and if you need to seek help, you know, right away or not. So, and a lot of times, you know, some of these things, it's understandable. They're compounded by just anxiety of, oh no, I didn't tell my parents. Oh no, I'm having this drug reaction. Oh no, it's the middle of the night. I don't want to go to the emergency room. How am I going to pay for this? And so it kind of comes, you know, all compounds on top of each other. And so sometimes just the simple act of somebody telling you, like, listen, I am a doctor of pharmacy. I have seen this many times. I can tell you, you are most likely going to be okay here. Okay. And, you know, if these things happen, you know, that is a reason to, you know, by all means, you know, go to the emergency department if you do not feel well, you know, trust yourself. But, you know, these are things that we can manage at home. And just by talking it out usually people feel a lot better.
Right. Especially when they feel all alone and sick.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary when you think you've poisoned yourself.
Yeah.
So we
yeah,
get
for
that.
Sure.
We totally get that.
Sure. And even if they try a drug with their friends that they didn't want to try, and then they, you know, they're scared, they go back to their place and they're like, oh my gosh, this is happening, that's happening. And I'm on this medicine from home. They can give you a call and they're
Absolutely.
safe.
Yep,
I just want to cover everything. So when it's up there in their head, you know, that they can bring it down and give you guys a call. And it's better than calling mom or dad in a way, because you guys are very familiar with every drug, whereas mom or dad might say, oh my God, you did what?
Yeah.
How are you? Oh my God.
You know,
and then make
you
your own
Googling.
anxiety that much worse. Right.
Exactly. And if you Google something, you know, you get the worst kind of case scenario. And it's like, yes, you know, eating a piece of glass, you know, could kill you in some ways, but like usually not. It's like there's very,
wow, you cover that too, huh? Wow. I guess, yeah, if a glass breaks or has a sliver in it.
We get that call a lot and people get very you know, upset. Yeah. And so we see so many weird things every single day that, you know, we are oftentimes, you know, helping talk people down some, you know, and then the Googling, you know, definitely, you know, we all do it. But that can, a lot of times it's going to give you the worst case scenario and something that's not applicable to your situation. And, you know, it's like, it's just better to have you get a personal consult if you just speak with the person and we'll usually be able to help you out.
And look how nice she is. Thank you so much, Pella, for all your help today.
You're so welcome. Of course, anytime. It was always nice talking with you, Marianne.
You too. Thanks again. Keep up the great work. And
thank you.
Poison Control's number is up now.